Well, hello. It is the 10th of July, 2025. I am Delbridge, Benchmark Realty. This is your status chat. We're going to get through this like a hot knife through butter. Let's get at it. If you like this content, please go to CallDelToSell.com, find the tab that says on YouTube, click it, and it'll open up a page of QR codes. There you can use a smartphone to scan and get to the YouTube page, or you can just mouse over and click it on a PC. There you'll be able to subscribe to this little button over here and click the notification bell so that YouTube will notify you. Thank you. I personally think we have some good news, but just like when the other people's was in office compared to who are in the office right now, we were hearing how rate cuts are coming, just keep coming. They're going to come, get by them. All the spending, none of that mattered. And it's just like the truth didn't matter. The truth absolutely did not matter. Now we've changed hands of who's running what, and we're still having the same problem. People being politic. They are playing the politic. They are stirring the trouble. So let's go see if we're due for some, rate cuts coming up. Now, I covered last week the same problem that we had before. Let's look at it. All right. This one's from MSN, not exactly a right-leaning organization, but they say the latest U.S. jobs report defies expectation and keeps rate watchers guessing. Now, this was 6 days ago. Robert McClister, if I pronounced his name correctly. That's all we need to know is the highlight, because they got to, it's MSN. So, they're chock full of ads. It's hard to even read this, but we'll just get to it. To gauge when the bottom's falling out, the number one indicator they've been watching is U.S. non-farm payrolls, a job showdown south of the border, because it's got to be politics. South of the border would have rapid repercussions, all when 3/4 of your exports go to one customer. Their economic indigestion becomes your fiscal ulcer, affecting everything from GDP to inflation on mortgages. Does that sound like they're being fair and unbiased, or are they just gloom and doom? Back to the top. This is what we need to know. The latest jobs report defies expectations. We're doing so much better despite they're trying to talk us into a ditch. All right. They bring in Canada. We don't care about Canada. Canada depends on us. Most of their population lives right on the U.S. border. Why? Because above that, it's frozen. It's frozen, and they got lots of fish. Lots of lake, lots of fish. Beautiful place, but they're not exactly a bastion of industrial strength. All right, let's look at this one. Here's another good one. U.S. customers shunned credit cards in May. This is from MarketWatch, right? Economic report, Greg Robb. This was the 8th, 2 days ago, because this was I think Tuesday, something like that. All right, it says the total number of U.S. customer credit growth slowed to 5.1 billion in May, down from 17 billion. Holy poop. And yet, we're still forecasting, if you listen to the other people's, we're forecasting the wheels coming off. The wheels on the bus go boom, boom, boom. It's just going to fall apart. The world's falling apart. They're not in charge, and the world's falling apart. So, yes, key details. Revolving credit, such as credit cards, fell at a 3.2% rate in May after a 6.9% gain the prior month. My goodness. I think things are going pretty good, but I don't want to get out over my skis. I don't want to think that nothing bad could happen, but I am liking what I'm hearing, okay? Just really liking it. Can we keep the good news coming? Because remember, we're going to have the end of the world and, and the knocking out the wartime nuclear development in a certain country. That was going to start to just all of this, evil, just hard hearts out there. So where we're going to go next? Bureau of Labor Statistics. BLS. Government, your CPI, your Consumer Price Index. Look at this. Do we need to open this one up and look at it? CPI for all items rose 0.1% in May. Shelter up. Well, guess what was driving it up? It sure wasn't energy, was it? Drill, baby, drill. Down 3.5 points. Look where we are on all items, 2.4%. Oh my gosh. Remember when we said we wouldn't drop. Actually, it was the FOMC, the Federal Open Markets Committee, said they wouldn't drop the rates. They couldn't drop the rates because it would reignite inflation. And even I had some concerns about it. But they couldn't do it because, inflation wasn't down to 2%. And then before the election, I talk about this sometimes almost every week. They did it 3 times for a total of a full percentage point when they really, I don't think, should have. And I'm not sure that we need to now, although some of y'all may hate me for saying that. We do need a minimum amount of interest rates to keep the bond markets, the other markets, the other types of equities going, and we don't need 0%. That could potentially light the economy absolutely on fire, resulting in inflation. So I don't know what would happen, but right now it doesn't look like we're in that position, does it? Well, let's go back over to this one. This is Axios. Axios, I think, is a little bit, I think they lean right. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. All right, July 9th, that was yesterday, 2025. Minutes show the Fed officials divided over tariff-driven inflation. Well, we don't have tariff-driven inflation. Not yet. We could, but we're not seeing it yet. In fact, we're seeing inflation come down. But do we cut the rates to spur? And it could spur the economy on. We could do with some lower rates on your mortgages, right? Couldn't you? I could do it. Why it matters. The central bank is leaving interest rates paused for now. Is this economic or is this political? But the ultimate judgment over whether inflation is temporary or lasting will shape their willingness to cut rates in the months ahead. I just think they're playing politics with your and my futures because, they're tied in with the banks and everybody's their buddy. And, if you're a bank and you've made bets and you need that interest being high, you don't want to see it get cut. Now, if you're, a finance guy, selling loans, getting that, you might want to see the rates come down. If you're a builder, you might want to see the rates. So we've got all kind of different people playing and jockeying for position. And of course, we'll take a look real quick at Mortgage News Daily. Not a lot's going on there. In fact, with the good reports going back here to when is this? Mortgage News Day 6.75. What day was this? 7.3 last week? Because, this was the 8th, 9th, and 10th this week. So, we look like we're actually kind of going up just a little bit. Maybe there's a little dip right there. Freddie Mac is on the way up. See the orange one? Let me get her down there again. There we are. Freddie Mac's on the way up. The other's just kind of statistical noise. Nothing bad has happened. I don't know. Do we need to go look at, the website real quick and see how, our mileage is varying there? Let's do that real quick. All right, let's look at Bedford County. That's going to be the one we're going to look at. I pulled this up, Bedford County. And we see average sale price to close. Look like we're coming up a little bit right there. Right there. What is that? That's active list prices going up. We're not really dropping down too bad. Holding steady pretty well much over the trend. But it looks like in the last, what is that? Do we have a date on that? Yes, in December. Looks like, no, March. Looks like since March we've come down a little bit. Average days on market, pretty well much flat. Certainly not within this ziggy-zaggy up top. We had a little ziggy-zaggy back here on days on market, which would be in the Bedford County community. Look at that. Holding, is it less than 90? Yes, let's pull it up here. Now, do you know how to do this? If you get in between it, that's when you get all of the lines because they represent different things. Blue, median days on market, less than 30. Still looking beautiful. Median days on market to contract, 35. Yeah, way less than 60. Still looking good, a little over 30. Median list to close, 81 days, less than 90. That's looking good. Median list to contract, 38. Less than 60, still looking good. Close, there it is to 33. And of course, you can go price per square foot. That didn't really jingle as well with this one in Bedford County based on our data. Pricing ratios look like they're actually going up. They were a little bit there below 100%, so they're getting less than asking, right? New listings are going up. New active inventory is going up. Let's pick a different county. Let's do Rutherford County. Entire Rutherford County. That looks a little bit different because it gets toward the north, toward the Blue County. Average sale close kind of going up. They're all going up. Days on market kind of coming down. Days on market median coming down. Price per square foot, not really seeing a whole lot of change there. I'm liking to see that. Since 23, liking that. Rutherford County in the entirety. Total showings, still really kind of grokking through the top. You're seeing obviously the cyclical nature of it, but it's going through. I just don't see a lot of problems. Let's check Coffee County. That's a smaller county. Whole county. Well, average sales price closed. We go in between, we can still see it's a little jumble right there, but you can see the red line and the orange line and the blue line, the teal, kind of tealish, green line there. And it's not losing ground, doesn't look like. Days on market, still looking cyclical. Days on market median, still looking cyclical. Total showing, still looking a little cyclical. Look like we are cooking with gas again. What else we want to look at? Cannon? We didn't look at Cannon, did we? Let's look at Cannon. Up. Look at that green spike coming down. That's average list under contract. Look like they came off on Camden County a little bit in this last month. Ooh, there we go. So anyway, what do you think? What do you think? Are you more inclined to be a negative Nelly, thinking the world is bad? I don't know how the FOMC can continue to hold off much longer not cutting rates, but it's just a guess. It's just nothing but a guess. I mean, they cut them when they said it didn't meet their criteria, but there was elections, though, and they say they're not political, but that's there. Now we're doing good. They keep saying tariffs are going to crash us, and maybe they will. They keep saying that the world is World War III. It seems like we've gotten some ceasefires. Sound like we've gotten some, I don't know. I just don't feel bad. I'm cautiously optimistic. Cautiously optimistic. Let's look at those numbers for this week. Hello, I'm Delbridge of Benchmark Realty, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. If you are currently unrepresented and would like to know how to compare up to 3 properties side by side and room by room, then go over to my new YouTube channel, CallDelToSell. That's 1 L and Del, no spaces. Watch the demo on Real Scout and then call me and we'll set up your exclusive ad-free account today. Gosh, I hope I didn't talk too much and make this editing longer than it needs to be. But anyway, we pulled the numbers for this week. Last week, of course, was the 4th of July. I did a 4th of July special on it. I spent a lot of time getting ready on that one. I do wish you'd go look at it because what I'm doing, I'm just connecting. Again, I know people are sick of the politics. I'm sick of the politics, but it drives the economies and the economy drives the values and everything. And, hey, where you live makes a difference. I draw some comparison, not just in the United States, but in our state. I think it's good information to have because nobody looks at it. It's like, let me do this way. When you enter a relationship with someone, if you're of that age, do you ever anticipate it falling apart? No. Do you ever think about moving on? No. But my point last week was when you buy a property, you need to, in your mind, consider the possibility of what could come in and make this thing either not grow as fast as other areas or what would make it, boom. You just got to think about how and you're not going to know. You're just going to have to throw your best guess at it. But anyway, last week, 4th of July, which was a Friday, we had 27,680 in the opportunities. We had 4,568 in the under contract still showing. Both of those numbers trended down over the previous week. But even though we had an extra day, that's not unusual going into a holiday, but we had the same ratio at 17%. Now this week, we've got, I guess it is one less day, and yet we're at 27,991 on our opportunities. That increased over the previous period, and so did the under contract still showing at 4589. It also bounced up, and the ratio between them dropped to 16%. So it dropped down a little bit. It's not bad. Not bad. We're not holding on as many of them as we had, and they're both of them going up. So I think that's a good time. We'll see you next week. Bye.